everyone to this very special Women's Night of Inspiration with two tremendous speakers, Rebbetzin Yemima Mizrachi from Israel and Rebbetzin Amit Yaghoubi from New York. We have a tremendous lineup tonight. It's really, for this last night of Chanukah, Zo's Chanukah, we're really going to be inspired, everyone together. It's being presented by Chazaq and Mikvah USA. As we all know, the great work of Chazaq knows no bounds. Chazaq organizes amazing shiurim and events in person and virtually, which inspire thousands of people, tens of thousands of people throughout the entire world. Chazaq's main mission now, Jewish public school student transfer to yeshiva. The last 4 years alone, Chazaq has helped transfer over 1,100 children from public school to yeshiva, which is a tremendous accomplishment. Someone watching right now knows someone who has children in public school and like to transfer to yeshiva, whether it may be a friend, a neighbor, a co-worker, someone who has children in public school like to transfer to yeshiva. Reach out to Chazaq right now. Email us at psty@chazaq.org, psty@chazaq.org, psty@chazaq.org. And if anyone wants to dedicate any tonight's shiur or any other upcoming shiur in memory of a loved one, Liloi Nishmas, or his chus for a shlemo or for a shidduch, email us at events@chazaq.org, events@chazaq.org, events@chazaq.org. And this is also being presented by Mikvah USA. It's a tremendous organization which helps build mikvahs all throughout the United States of America, and they've literally thousands upon thousands of people are being part of that, are being part of the mitzvah of participating in the mitzvah of mikvah because of Mikvah USA. And tremendous educational programs about mikvah for people of all backgrounds. Everyone should check out the amazing work of Mikvah USA and find out more about their amazing courses and work and everything at mygiftofmikvah.org, mygiftofmikvah.org, mygiftofmikvah.org. And we want to, it's our great honor to call upon our first speaker for tonight, Rebbetzin Amit Yaghoubi.
Zot Chanukah, our menorahs are fully lit. Where do we go from here? First of all, to say thank you to the unbelievable organization Chazaq. Whatever you think you may know that Chazaq does, it just does so much more. Chazaq, with Rabbi Meirov and his brother Rabbi Meirov at the helm directing everything, has gone into every area of Jewish society and is interested in helping every single Jew, whether helping them or empowering others to be the helpers. Chazaq has huge goals and is slowly beginning to reach them and strive towards them. And of course to Mikvah USA, that is providing the framework for Taharat HaMishpacha, the core of what a Jewish family is, with family purity across the country, enabling people to keep this mitzvah, to keep the mitzvah better. Hashem should grant these organizations continued hatzlacha and more success in their avodat Hashem. So there's a story of a Mr. Smith, and he's coming home after a long shift from work, and as he is walking, it's a little bit chilly outside, it's gotten colder, and he bundles his jacket, and he's walking in the dark, and he feels like there's somebody behind him. He doesn't want to look back. He quickens his pace just a little bit, but before you know it, he can hear the sh of the switchblade, and he hears a voice from behind him, "Give me your wallet." So he steps back and he says, "Okay, all right, take it easy, no problem." And he pulls out his wallet and he says, "It's all right, man, it's all right." And he gives the guy his wallet. The guy gives him a look and starts to run off into the darkness. Mr. Smith turns back to his mugger and says, "Excuse me, hold on a minute." The guy turns back and says, "Yeah." And he says, "It's getting colder. You're going to be out all night doing your work. You might catch a cold. Maybe you want to take my jacket?" So the mugger looks at him incredulously and starts inching back towards him. Again, shows his knife and says, "Give me your jacket." So Mr. Smith, no problem, starts taking off his coat, take it easy, no problem, and hands it to this guy. The guy again jets off into the darkness, and again Mr. Smith calls out to him, hey, wait a minute, excuse me. Turns back, what? Says, I was just about to go eat. You're gonna be out all night, working in the cold. Maybe you wanna grab a bite of food with me before you finish your evening activities. The guy looks at him and sees this gentleman seems like a genuine guy, comes close and says, okay, where are you going? And together they walk to the restaurant that Mr. Smith always eats at on his way home from work before he goes home. And as he walks in, all the waiters and the waitresses, hi, how are you? How's everything? Everyone is so glad to see him. The manager comes over and says, oh, good to see you. How was your day? And this criminal sitting next to him says, are these people always so nice to you? And Mr. Smith turns to him and says, the world is filled with nice people. The world is filled everywhere you go with nice people. Of course, people are nice. And this man is watching while Mr. Smith tells him, oh, you gotta get the pastrami sandwich over here. Why don't you order yourself another soda? And they're sitting and eating, and slowly he begins to thaw and talks to him and tells him about his life. And eventually they finish their meal and they're quite friendly now. And Mr. Smith turns to this guy and says to him, you know, I would really love to pay for your dinner, but you have my wallet. How about you say, give me my wallet back. I'll pay for your dinner and we'll see if we can work something out together. And the criminal gives Mr. Smith back his wallet. They keep in touch. He hires him and eventually rehabilitates this man who was about to mug him late at night in the streets. You see, we just are coming out of Chanukah, where we had one light, we paskin like Beit Hillel, one light, two lights, three lights, where each light allows us to add a little more. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us the more light you put in the world, the more light will be reflected back at you. The more I can shine out to others, what I do, choices I make, can change the environment around me. And that's exactly what the Maccabees did. You see, they didn't think that they were going to do this worldwide kiruv effort when they went out to fight the Greeks. All they wanted to do was show the Greeks that there are still Jews who are willing to fight and possibly die for the honor of God's sake. And they go out and they fight. They don't expect to win the war. They do. They're so thrilled. There's a miracle. But then the unexpected happens as well. Jews who had abandoned their Judaism, who had become mityavnim, who had become Hellenistic, who were fighting in the armies of the Greeks against their Jewish brethren, became inspired by the Maccabees, became inspired by these Jews who were not army trained, who just wanted to fight for doing the right thing. And slowly over the course of the battles, many Jews who had abandoned their Judaism came back and helped the Maccabees fight against the Greeks, reclaiming their portion in fighting for Hashem. Because what I do affects not only me, but also all of the people around me. My menorah in my window, my little window with my little menorah, affects the street. That's one of the messages that Chanukah is here to tell us, to take with us. But where do we go now? Full menorah, beautiful lights. As we leave the holy festival of Chanukah, where do we take it? Maybe we become Maccabees. What am I going to be? Maccabee is the same letters as become. What will I be? What do I want to become after going through this holiday? Who is it that I want to be? Maccabee in this world. Chanukah is unique in that it is the only Jewish holiday that actually spans 2 months, Kislev and Tevet. And in fact, the Chachamim say that the light of Chanukah is what gets us through the darkness of Tevet. That a Jew wouldn't be able to manage Tevet without the light of Chanukah, and that's why it has to span both. What's the connection between the month of Kislev, the month of Tevet? Why does Chanukah need to span them? Because, my friends, this holiday was a meeting of sisters. Sisters? Which sisters? Rachel and Leah. Chanukah is a combining of each one of these two imahot, of their spiritual powers. Rachel and Leah coming together, holding hands, combining their forces, and giving each one of us a gift. This Chanukah like no other gift that we have seen. What is the gift that Rachel and Leah come together to give the Jewish people? Every single month corresponds to a different shevet, 12 months, 12 tribes. The first 3 months of the year, Tishrei, Cheshvan, and Kislev, are all children of Rachel. Tishrei is Ephraim, Cheshvan, Menashe, and Kislev, Binyamin. Who was Rachel? Rachel was Eshet Yifat Toar, Yifat Mar'eh. She was beautiful. Rachel represents that which we can see, which is revealed good. And in fact, Yaakov Avinu comes seeking Rachel, because what do we as human beings seek in this world? We seek that which is revealed, that we can see that is good. Who was Leah? Leah, the Chachamim say, is Alma Deit Kasya. She is the covered world. She is hidden. Her world, what she represents, is difficult to discern, difficult to understand. Yet, we see that Rachel, in her revealed beauty, is subject to ups and downs of life. She has positive things happen, negative things happen. Her children, when they sin, Shaul HaMelech is removed from the scene, whereas Leah, in her hiddenness, has consistency. She remains consistent. David HaMelech, Yehuda, Shlomo, all of the sins of Malchus Beis David don't remove the kingship from them. There is a consistent that they have. When we see Rachel, we understand she is the world of schar v'onesh, of reward and punishment. And that's why she is from Rosh Hashanah, when a Jew is beginning her travels in this year, Tafshin Pei Bet, beginning her travels. A Jew says, okay, how do I start? Okay, there's schar v'onesh, reward and punishment. It's the world of revealed. You do good, you get good. You do bad, Chalila, you get bad. It's the world of Rachel. But my friends, that's the beginning of Avodat Hashem. Because the true depth of Avodat Hashem is to go into the world of Leah. The world where I don't see exactly what's going on, but I trudge ahead. Yaakov Avinu comes seeking Rachel, but he marries Leah first. Leah, the depth of connection, the hidden understanding of bringing two together. Rachel represents the times in our life where we feel connected to Hashem. Things are going good. I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to daven. I feel like my mitzvot have purpose. I'm excited. I'm inspired. I'm accomplishing. I feel Hashem. I'm saying Emunah stories. Rachel are those times in our life where we feel Hashem. We know He loves me. We know what I'm doing has a point. But that's not every moment of our life. Leah represents the tkufa, those time periods where we're not sure if what we're doing has a point. We're not sure if Hashem is happy with what I'm doing. We don't feel connection. I'm davening, but I don't feel anything. Should I continue? Should I not? I'm doing these mitzvot, but is it just because I'm socially involved in doing these mitzvot? Do I still plunge ahead? Leah represents those moments where we don't feel God in our life, and yet Leah represents the coming of Mashiach, where it might be there's total chaos, but Hashem is creating the path to get to the goal. Where we see the story with Yehuda and Tamar, what's going on, it seems like not so. But the seed of Mashiach is being planted. Leah represents those times in our life where we don't feel like we're on spiritual fire, where we don't feel like, okay, yeah, things are going great, we've got this. And yet we believe that every part of what I'm doing is a path that Hashem is paving towards Mashiach. Leah is Gematria 36, the 36 Or Haganuz, the hidden light that was hidden within our candles, the 36 candles which we lit. Mashiach is Roshei Tevot Madlikin Shmonat Yemei Chanukah, the 8 nights of Chanukah, where we start in Chodesh Kislev of Rachel, and then we move into Chodesh Tevet, which is from the tribes of Leah. We move from this revealed connection to Hashem, and we partner for even in those times where it's not. We're headed towards a goal. We have our Mashiach consciousness, and Rachel and Leah hold hands together on Chanukah and give us that koach to synthesize the two powers. Rav Tzadok says that the strength of Yosef, his Bechor Shoro, was in his ability to interact with the outside world. Yosef HaTzadik is able to go out and rule over Egypt. We see that he is able to interact with all of the forces of Tum'ah and yet retain his spiritual integrity and even shine out his Kedusha and influence the people around him. He becomes second in command. By the way, so do Esther and Mordechai, also children of Rachel. They're out there, they're in the government, they're holding these positions, they're interacting with the nations of the world. They have excelled in all kinds of external matters of askanus and all of those kinds of things while still retaining their spiritual integrity. And so Yosef, Rachel, is how a Jew measures up to the nations around him. How do I do my avodat Hashem klape the world that I am part of? Yehuda is entirely different. The strength of Yehuda is the power of ruling over himself, to conquer within. The Kiddush Hashem that Yosef does is captured by public media, posted all over. Look at what we are, the kind of nation we are amongst nations. The Kiddush Hashem of Yehuda is a Kiddush Hashem that's done within the confines of Klal Yisrael. It's a Kiddush Hashem between us and us, with no public eye. Yehuda is the ability to be introspective, to focus within, to build up the strength of Klal Yisrael, klape Klal Yisrael, within ourselves. You understand? We need both. We need both powers to work together. We don't need either to be an end in and of themselves. They're kochot that each Jew has a little bit of both, and some Jews tend more to one or the other. But they're kochot that need to be merged together, not kept separate. Yavan represented shvichut damim, murder. But Yavan, they were so cultured, they were so civilized, they were so democratic. How could they represent murder? How could they represent shvichut damim? Because Yavan, the way they killed was not physical death. What they did was they sucked the life force out from within, leaving an empty shell of what was once life. Taking out all of the depth, taking out all of the inner substance, and just leaving the external beauty. When we have Yosef, who is beautiful, and he is fighting against the Greeks. Yosef is Gematria Melech Yavan, because Yosef's beauty, spiritual beauty, is a force that fights against superficial beauty. The milchama of Yavan, the milchama of the Greeks, is the war against superficiality. Spirituality against superficiality. You understand, the Greeks appreciated beauty. They came into our temple, they didn't look to knock it down. They loved the architecture. It was beautiful. All they wanted to do was make sure, ufartzu migdalai, to destroy the wall that separates between the Jews and the non-Jews. I'll appreciate your beauty. You appreciate my beauty. Hey, let's collab together. Let's get together. Let's share our beautiful ideas. But what Yavan, which is the Yud, and then the Vav, and then the Nun, 3 lines that get progressively longer, quicksand, what Yavan does is the minute you fall into superficial beauty, it sucks you down until it removes all life force from within you and leaves you an empty case with nothing inside and no depth. So as we begin to pack up our menorahs, to put away our Mahadrin min ha-Mahadrin oil, to put away the beautiful decorations that are getting more extravagant as the years go on, we have to ask ourselves, now that I experienced the 8 nights of Chanukah, the Shmonat Yemei Chanukah, what am I doing with that power? What am I going to be? Who do I look like? Is there depth to me? Am I focused on the external beauty? We have in Klal Yisrael the most beautiful challah covers, gorgeous personalized tefillin bags, custom-made benchers to match our dining rooms. We have the most beautiful tashmishay kedusha that perhaps ever was. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have to ask ourselves though, do we have the quality of Leah within our beauty? Are the gorgeous things that we use, the high quality tznius clothing that we buy, is it with the inner essence of Leah as well? Or is it just the external, only what I can see? Does the Judaism that I'm giving to my children, to my students, does it have tochen? Does it have depth inside of it? Am I able to give over that which is hidden? There's a reason why our Torah is Torah shebichtav, what you can see, and Torah sheba'al peh. And Torah sheba'al peh, even though we have it written down, we still call it Torah sheba'al peh because there is something as Jews that we have to be able to give over that cannot be seen. There's depth in who we are. We are not what you see is what you get. We have layers and layers. Our Yiddishkeit, our mitzvot, our shuls, our homes have to have layers and layers of depth. Can we fight the shallow beauty of Greece? Can we take the Yosef, the children of Rachel, and be able to go out into the world and establish ourselves as we have amongst nations, lobbying and doing what we're doing, but understanding that it's because we have to get to the Alma de Itkasya, to the hidden world, that we are not just Jews out in the world to show that we have made it, but we are making it in the outside world only to be a light unto the Goyim and to be able to then strengthen ourselves from within. Because you understand, it's the Malchut Beit David, it's Leah that leads us consistently towards our goal of Mashiach, to continue to strive for the substance and the truth that we have. The sisters, Rachel and Leah, come together. They cross over. By the way, they cross over again also on Purim. Where? Because we see Mordechai is called Mordechai HaYehudi. Mordechai from Rachel, HaYehudi from Leah. This combination of the Jew that's successful in the outside world while retaining spiritual integrity, and the Jew that's stuck in the Beit HaMidrash, building Klal Yisrael from within, that we are not antithetical to one another, but rather that we need to grow together, and that each one of us needs to build homes that have a combination of both of these powers. And that is the gift of Chanukah that each one of us has been given this year as we are saying goodbye to the 8 beautiful lights, to understand that beauty is coming from Rachel Imenu. but it needs to be infused with Leah Imenu, with depth, with purpose, and to check my life and make sure that I have both. And so how do we do this? I'll leave you with a story. There's a Yid, his name is Rabbi Avraham Grossman, and he has a kollel in Eretz Yisrael, and his kollel is very unique because they pay an incredibly high stipend to the Avrechim of 10,000 shekel a month. Now, they don't just get, there's 30 Avrechim in this kollel, and they don't just get the 10,000 shekel a month, they have things that they need to accomplish. And one of the things they need to accomplish is that they have to take a bechina, they have to take a test, and in order to stay in the kollel, you have to get 100 on every test. And so you can understand that this kollel that Rabbi Grossman has is serious Talmidei Chachamim that are taking their learning very, very seriously, retaining their learning in a very serious way. And everybody asked me, from where do you get your funding, right? All organizations want to know, where are you getting your funding? How are you getting your funding? And Rabbi Grossman always kept it a secret until one year it was Purim, Nichnas Yayin, Yatza Sod, and Rabbi Grossman is asked, how do you fund your kollel? And the following story begins to flow out of his mouth. And he talks about a time that he was traveling with his family, and they were driving in Eretz Yisrael, going up north, and the children are complaining, they're hungry, they want to stop, rest stop, okay, they pull over to the side of the road, everybody eats, they take care of all of their needs, a bunch of kids in the car, they get back into the car, everyone piles in, turns on the car, it's not going on. Turns on the car, it's not going on. Goes on for a moment and then sputters and dies. What's going on? Oh my goodness, they realize they don't have gas. Okay, it's all right, don't worry, we'll find someone to help us. Rabbi Grossman gets out of the car. He's trying to flag down anybody who will stop. And finally, a slick Mercedes pulls up and the tinted window gets pulled down. And there's a man behind the wheel and he says, "What's wrong?" Rabbi Grossman says, "Oh, thank you so much for stopping. Maybe you can help us. We ran out of gas." And this man, whose name was Ophir, was not a religious Jew, and he looks at Rabbi Grossman and his family and he says, "Only leave it to Charedim, that they're going to be in the middle of the street and forget to get gas. I can't believe you people." And he hits his foot on the gas and speeds away. Baruch Hashem, his Rahmanas, his mercy overcomes him, and he eventually makes a U-turn, and he tells the rabbi, "All right, Rabbi, get in the car. I'll take you to get some gas." Gets into the car, making small talk, talking to him. "Oh, where are you from? Da-da. And they finally get to a gas station, and he says, "Okay, I'll wait for you and I'll take you back to your car." Rabbi Grossman gets out of the car, starts to go to the gas station to buy something to fill up the gas, and he comes back to the car and he tells Ophir, "I'm so sorry, but I cannot buy gas from over here." And Ophir says, "Lama, what's wrong? What's wrong with the gas?" And the rabbi tells him, "Oh, there is nothing wrong with the gas, but I cannot purchase anything from this gas station." "Why?" It says, "Petuchim b'Shabbat." We're open on Shabbat. Open on Shabbat? Would you ever go to a place that openly spits in your father's face and buy something from them? I cannot buy from this place. I love Hashem. I love my father. My father says to keep Shabbat. This gas station wants to flaunt that they don't love my father. I cannot purchase gas from over here. Now you understand, Ophir has been tolerant up until now, but this is a bit much for him. "What are you, Meshuga? Are you crazy? I should just leave you over here." And Rabbi Grossman says, "Please, I'm sure there's another gas station. Can we just go to the next gas station?" Ophir says, "I don't know why I'm even doing this for you. You're crazy. Get in the car." They get in the car, they buy gas. They come back to Rabbi Grossman's car and they exchange phone numbers. "Okay, very nice to have met you. Ophir, Hashem should send you so much bracha, so much blessing. And Bezrat Hashem, we'll get in touch someday." They exchange numbers and they part ways. Okay, so the trip continues to go on. They have their little vacation and time moves. 1 year, 2 years. Everyone has forgotten about this incident. And Rabbi Grossman, years later, gets a phone call. "Hello, is this Rabbi Grossman?" "Ken, Mizeh? This is Ophir. Do you remember me?" "Ophir, I'm sure we've met before. I can't remember." And he says, "Oh, you don't remember? With the gas? You were on the side of the road. I picked you up." "Oh, Ophir, Ken, shlomcha? How are you? Of course I remember you. What's going on? Ophir says, listen, Rabbi, I don't have too much time to talk. I need to meet you in Tel Aviv. Come to this very special buildings. Come, and I need to have a meeting with you. I need to meet with you right away. Why? Is everything okay? Rabbi, trust me. We meet tomorrow. Come here. Do not be late. Okay, Rabbi Grossman says, okay. He goes and he sees Ophir. How are you? Hug and a kiss. And Ophir sits down and he says, I'm going to get right to business. My father passed away 2 weeks ago. And Rabbi Grossman says, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he says, my father was a religious man. Obviously, I'm not a religious man, but my father allowed for each one of us to go in our own ways. My father became fabulously wealthy in Israel. He owns a tremendous amount of properties, and his estate is worth millions of dollars. When we read my father's will, he left me a very good portion to be able to live the rest of my life. And he said that he wants 30% of his estate to go to a man that loves Hashem. So we read this in the will, and we said, okay, I guess I'm the executor. I have to find someone who loves Hashem. Who do I know that loves Hashem? And he goes on the street, hi, do you love Hashem? And, how am I going to assess who loves Hashem to give such a large amount of money to? Rabbi Grossman still doesn't know what 30% is. And he says, but then I remembered you. I remembered you, Meshuga, when I'm taking you to buy gas, and you say, I love my father. I'm not shopping somewhere that doesn't love my father. I remember. You said I love Hashem. I said, I gotta call this man. And so he takes a check, $20 million, and he says, use this to spread Torah. And that was Rabbi Grossman's funding that he had to build this kollel, because Rabbi Grossman was not afraid to say, I love Hashem. He was not afraid to stand up amongst the secular world and say, I'm a Jew and I'm proud, and I'll sing it out loud. I love Hashem. I have the external beauty because it's my internal beauty that's propelling it forward. May it be Hashem's will that we take the warmth of our Chanukah candles, that we pass it into the world, that we change those around us, because from within we are overflowing with Kedusha, with Ahava, with love for Hashem, that we understand in our moments of connection, we're in Rachel mode, and in our moments of turmoil, we're in Leah mode. But Hashem is directing the scene. He's directing us towards Mashiach. Bezrat Hashem, we should be able to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu this year, please God, and that Klal Yisrael should have a Geula Shalema. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebbetzin Yaghoubi, for your amazing remarks. The next speaker is Rebbetzin Yemima Mizrachi, all the way from Eretz Yisrael, all the way from Israel. I want to remind everyone is being presented by Chazaq and Mikveh USA. As you know, the great work of Chazaq helps organize amazing shiurim and events every single day, in person and virtually. If anyone wants to organize a virtual shiur, or a shiur that community, they should reach out to events@chazaq.org, events@chazaq.org. In the last 4 years, Chazaq has helped transfer over 1,115 children from public school yeshiva. If someone watching right now knows someone who has children in public school like to transfer yeshiva, they should call our office at 718-285-9132, 718-285-9132, or email us at psty@chazaq.org, psty@chazaq.org. I want to thank Mikveh USA for organizing this event together with Chazaq. Mikveh USA has helped build mikvahos all throughout the country, and tens of thousands of people are participating in the mitzvah of mikvah because of Mikveh USA, and they've also tremendous educational courses and classes that everyone should be part of. That everyone should find out more information at mygiftofmikvah.org, mygiftofmikvah.org, mygiftofmikvah.org. It's our great honor to call on Rebbetzin Mizrachi.
Shalom America, I miss you so much. And Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichro Livracha, used to say that the people we remember all our lives were those who gave us hope. I'm so proud to be a part of this holy organization, Chazaq, this organization which gives us daily, weekly, monthly, yearly hope. Hope for chinuch, education. Hope for zugiyut, our marriage life. Hope for kedusha, holiness. Chinuch, zugiyut, kedusha, chazak. It gives us again and again power to keep these holy values. And thank you to Mikveh USA. Mikveh is tikva. It's hope. Having this hope, everywhere you go in the United States, you find this holy place which gives you a totally new beginning in your family life. So thank you, Chazaq. Thank you, Mikveh USA. We remember you always because the ones we remember are the ones who ever gave us hope, tikva. And this evening, I'm supposed to speak of tzniut, me. I love beautiful outfits. I love shopping. Black Fridays. I love Zara. Is that avoida Zara? Beauty. And the Jewish breaking news are Ein lecha yafe min hatzniut. There is nothing more beautiful than tzniut. Tzniut is not about being ugly, giving up beauty. It's all about beauty. And if you look at the woman most beautifully dressed in the world, the Goyish world, you will find this Princess Kate Middleton, the middle skirt, the middle sleeve, the middle tone. Everything tsanua is the real beauty. And that's what we are going to talk about this evening. Chanukah is the Chag which speaks of beauty. And Chazal tell us about this historic meeting between the Greek warrior Alexander Mokdon. Chanukah is all about Greece and Yavan, and he goes to conquer Jerusalem. But before he gets to Yerushalayim, he sees a big group of people coming, and ahead of them walking someone so beautiful. When he sees him, Alexander Mokdon, the Greek warrior, he falls on his face and everyone is asking him what happened. Brave Alexander Mokdon, and he says, do you see this man? Every time I conquered a country or a city, every time I won my wars, I used to see the figure of this man walking before me. This beautiful man was HaKohen HaGadol, Shimon HaTzadik. Yavan, Greece, is all about beauty. Yaft Elokim Leyefet. They had the goddess of beauty. They admired beauty. And suddenly he sees the beauty of the Kohen Gadol and he says, you won. I won't conquer Jerusalem because I am used to conquer and you שמעון הצדיק, הכהן הגדול, you have conquering beauty. I cannot fight this beauty. There is a huge difference between the beauty and the light of the Kohen Gadol. He goes inside Kodesh HaKodashim, Lifnai Velifnim. This is the song of the Eshet Chayil, Verachok Mipninim Michra. She goes Lifnai Velifnim. Every Shabbos evening, your husband sings to you, Verachok Mipninim Michra. You have the beauty of the Kohen Gadol. Whereas Alexander Mokdon conquers more and more, this man has conquering beauty. What does it mean? It's beauty which stays no matter how old you are, no matter how many wrinkles you have. It's a beauty which stays forever. It lingers. Who remembers these days Alexander Mokdon? Who remembers all the conquering of the Yevanim? No one. And the Jewish beauty is still here. And the Gemara tells us Alexander Mokdon conquers more and more and more countries until he gets to a place called Ir Hanashim, the women's city. They greet him and they say to him, do not conquer this city. And he asks them, Lama, why? And they say, if we win, people will say, women won, defeated Alexander Mokdon. And if you win, people will say, he won a city of women. And he says to them, I've never met such wise woman. I am not conquering this city. These wise women knew that the more conquering you have, the more followers you have in your Instagram, in your Facebook, it has to stop somewhere. It won't linger, because the more exposed it is, the more danger is there. It cannot go on and on forever, because it's all over the place. And when your beauty is exposed all over the place, there will always be someone wiser than you, beautiful than you, having beautiful children and a beautiful family more than you have. It causes depression. So many young boys and young girls are depressed. They feel unworthy. Why? Because all over the place, people expose their pictures of their happy family lives, of the last trip they made, and suddenly you feel unworthy. I just think of all those pictures in Shidduchim time. Even though he could have met her and he could have thought she's beautiful, but when he sees all these pictures around, suddenly she is unworthy. This Shabbos we read such a pasuk. Yaakov marries Rachel after he married Leah. Vaye'ehav gam et Rachel mi-Leah. Vayar Hashem ki senua Leah. Yaakov loved also Rachel, which means he loved also Leah. So why is it written just afterwards, Vayar Hashem ki senua Leah? Hashem sees Leah is hated. It was just written he loves also Rachel. Because when relations become relative to someone else, even though he loves Leah, when she is near Rachel, she considers herself hated. So many young girls are walking around feeling ugly and hated, not because they are ugly or hated, but because relationship is relative. And when you have so many things to relate to in the website, suddenly your wife is not as beautiful as you thought, is not as smart as you thought. Suddenly you are not a happy family as you used to think, because look at them sending their beautiful pictures from the Dolomites in Italia. When things are exposed, when people want to conquer with their beauty and wisdom, it won't last. There will always be someone more beautiful, smarter. The family life won't be satisfied any longer. Once people divorced less, but now they are exposed to so many beautiful and perfect pictures. What can we do against it? This is the generation following people, looking at their picture, sending our happy pictures with our husbands and children. What can we do? There is one woman, Chazaq tell us, she is a widow, the wife of the prophet Obadiah. She has huge debts. And the man she owes him money comes to her and says, unless you pay me this huge amount of money, I'm taking your 2 sons to be my slaves. She doesn't know what to do. She runs to Elisha, the prophet, and he says to her, you need money now desperately. Ma yesh itach babayit? Do you have anything at home? And she says, lo, nothing. Ein leshifchatcha kol. I've got nothing. Maybe a small portion of oil. Wow, he says to her. Now you go and you borrow kelim, jars from your neighbors. You go home. וסגרת הדלת בעדך ובעד ביתך. You close the door. You take the small amount of oil from the jar and you say to your children, give me the jars, and you start pouring. And she does this. And another jar is being full, and another one, and another one. And all the neighbors are standing outside the house, the locked house, thinking, why did she have to use so many jars? Why did she borrow so many jars? She is poor, this woman. Nes pach hashemen. She sells the oil, she pays her debt, but she still has so much left. Notar. And Elisha, the prophet, says to her, take this. Ve'at uvanayich tichyu banotar. You and your children are going to live with these leftovers. Uminotar kan ka'anim na'asa nes lashoshanim. What made this miracle come true? How did she have parnasa after this corona horrible year? She closed the door. And when you close the door of your house, you suddenly see how much you have. When the door is open, when the windows of your cellular are open, you will feel all the time, I've got nothing. Ein לשפחתך כלום בבית. Okay, now close the door. Close the windows. Look at what you have. The reflection of the light will be so huge. The Kohen Gadol, just like you, walks into his Kodesh Kodashim. It's very, very small. He closed the door and the light is all around. Why do we put the Chanukah inside the house instead of putting it outside? Chazal revealed to us that when you put light on the window, your children, if they look outside, they won't see anything. They will see darkness because the house is full of light. But when the house is dark and obscure, when the house is looking at what other people have, the house is dark. Your children and husband and you are going to stick to the window, to the screens, and the screen will be their light. It's a physical rule. The house is dark, you look outside and it looks like light. The house is lit, full of beautiful and holy candles, full of songs and music, full of hugging and good words. No one will want to look outside. It's being a warrior to have conquering beauty. It's being a bigger warrior than Alexander Mokdon. But remember, every time you want to make send on a beautiful picture of your private life, every time you want to pick up and look at her pictures or his pictures, be careful. Your family life is at stake because everything in your relationship becomes relative and unworthy suddenly. But more than that, it ruins your relations with him. Chazal tell us, so many times you lose hope of tefillah. You do not daven any longer because it doesn't hear you. I say to students, not from students from universities, I tell them, try this. Even for 5 minutes, when you want to pray, you don't know if there is God or not, you put on yourself something tsanua, modest, and suddenly you will see how your tefillah has power, how your tefillah becomes chazak. Why? The Maharal explains, when you cover yourself, you understand that under this cover exists gorgeous beauty which no one sees. That's the way you speak to God because you do not see him. He is covered behind the sky, but you know that behind thick covers, beauty can exist. You know, I always think that modesty is really not modest, because modesty says, I have such gorgeous beauty, I cannot expose it. I cannot endanger it. I have to keep this gorgeous family, my gorgeous beauty. It's such an immodest idea. Being modest. Modesty is not thinking I'm unworthy. Modesty is knowing I'm so worthy. I want this to linger. When you cover a little bit with beauty, your beauty, you can look at this beautiful sky and believe someone is hidden behind there, listening, knowing, so smart, so beautiful, conquering beauty. I remember once when I spoke to students in the Haifa Technion, and one of them told me, Yemima, do you know why I came to hear you and why I'm starting to believe in God? She said, I came from a really, really secular house, not affiliated, bichlal. And in the army, I was accepted to this very special secret unit, Mista'arvim. The Mista'arvim are those soldiers who dwell in Arab villages. They are disguised to Arabs. They live an Arab life. Soldiers of us are married to Palestinian women. No one knows they are soldiers. There are only a few women doing this, and she was one of them. And she says to me, Yemima, I was in a house and I had a special hidden camera which could see what is happening in a terrorist's house just in front of me. One night, awake, no one around me knows I'm a Jewish soldier, Israeli soldier. I was watching and following what was going on in this terrorist's house, and then I said to myself, Rega, if you can look at someone without him even guessing you are doing so, maybe someone is looking at me right now without me guessing even. It can happen. The minute she was hidden, the minute she was so tsanua and still having such an influence on the enemy, she could believe there is someone so tsanua and hidden who has influence on all the world and on her as well. When Alexander Mokdon sees the Shimon HaTzadik, the big Kohen Gadol, he says, what? This man from davening in Yom Kippur, he really decides whether I conquer a country or I lose the battle? And Shimon HaTzadik says to him, I dress beautifully, mimishbetzot zahav levusha, and it has to be beautiful. I get into the Kodesh Kodashim, I close the door, and now I can influence all the world. The rain, pregnancies, marriages, wars. I have influence on the world. It's so hard. I really tell you that being tsanua in our generation is being a warrior. It's being a mista'arevet. It's being this brave soldier behind a disguise, keeping this country alive, keeping herself secure. I want you to make Chanukah Habayit. I want you to festive, to lachgog your family life. I want you once a day to close the door, to close the windows of your internet and cellular, to look at what you have, and not only that what you have will be preserved and guarded, it will produce more and more and more oil. Your parnassah, your love life, the education of your children. All you need is two things. To be mekaveh, always hoping for the good. Thank you, Mikveh USA. And to be so very much Chazaq. Thank you, Chazaq.